What's up, guys? This is Dabo. We're going to look at some clips today, just 3 clips. The first clip is going to be in 3 different perspectives, so we get a little bit more of an insight as to what happened. And the 2 other clips are going to be in from my perspective, and the first race is going to be in the Formula Golf at Monza, and the last race is going to be from the endurance race at Imola. And the first clip here is one where we go 4 wide and I'm involved in it. We have Bill's kid also here in front of me, who is going to spin out basically, or he's going to have the worst out of this, going to get some contact, crash, spin out, and lose a lot of time in the race. Then we have Nilas in front of him, and at the very front we have Animera. So if we just play this now from my perspective, just to see what happens, we can see that Bilskid and myself, and also Nilas actually, is building up a lot of draft from Animera. And Nilas goes to the left, there. Bilskid goes to the right, there. And then I'm coming up here, the last guy, also thinking I should do something cool, like, make a fancy pass. So that's what I do. I go into this area right here. That's beginning to open up. And we're making the awesome 4 wide maneuver into this start-finish straight. And there is a lot of track here. Look at how much track there is on this piece of the road. So quite wide area, so you can easily fit 4 golfs at this place. But the further ahead you get towards the corner, the tighter and tighter the road becomes, because the right side sort of shrinks in a little bit. And this is also where the accident happens, on this side of the road. And you can't really see too much from my perspective. We can just continue here. We can see suddenly we get a little bit of a hit there against Animera, and we see some chaos behind, and Bilskid has now spun out. Looks like Animera has gotten out of it okay, and Nilas was okay on our left. So that's sort of the way it was from my perspective. We now can see it from Animera's perspective. He of course starts at the very front, so he's the one that has all of these guys trying to pass him on the straight, and you can see he's sort of keeping his line straight here. Now there is, of course, the accidents happens here with Bilskid on his right, and there is a lot of room here on the right side, but there's also a pit lane exit there, and this room slowly shrinks as we go forward. So there's a natural tendency for the guy on the right side to move towards the inside, or to get on the left side of this line, because this line is more or less the edge of the road, so to say. However, if you look at it, it's not really the edge of the road. It's like there's a lot of road still on the right side. So you can see here that this contact could have been avoided, or didn't have to be contact here if you just use this side of the road more. And that's more on Bilskid's perspective, but you can see here the contact is made. He goes sort of into myself, and then there's a little bit of a loss of control there, but Bilskid is the one who loses control completely. And you can see now from the overhead view, we have quite a cool view here. Animera, Nilas, Bilskid and myself, and we can just see what's been happening here as we go towards the start-finish straight. We're all 4 wide, and this is where Animera and Bilskid has a little bit of contact, but nothing dangerous. But at this point they should make note that, oh shit, there was something there, and because of that be extra careful when keeping their lines. I remember when I drove on this side, I tried to keep my best to follow this line at the center, and I believe they were trying to use this line as a reference point, but they're too close to each other anyways. So you can see here as they go, they make contact here, and from Bilskid's point of view, there's still room here on the outside to use. However, as we were talking about earlier, this is sort of coming out of the pit stop, and the natural tendency here is to go towards to go back toward on the inside of this line, but there is room here to be used, so this could have been avoided. But as closer and closer we got to this corner, the more dangerous this maneuver became, and at some point one of us had to back off anyways, and it really didn't happen. So the accident unfolded, I guess. And now we move to the second race. This is from the endurance race, and we have 2 clips from my perspective. The quality is going to be a little bit bad because I will take it directly from the stream feed, but we can see what's happening. You can see here this is in a quite tricky conditions. It's about a little over an hour into the race, or maybe, yeah, I think maybe a little over an hour into the race, and there is basically a lot of rain on the track, tricky conditions, dark, low visibility, and I'm following an Emera into this section of the track where I actually have 2 different accidents that we're going to look at. And this first one here with an Emera is one where I make a pass on him, and you can see here some of the reason that this happens is because of just how much boost I was able to get out of this Toyota, out of the chicanes and after the brake zones. I was able to get so much boost, fully charged almost every time, and that made it so that I could keep boosting throughout all the gears, even the 7th gear. And you can see here on this straight here that even here in the 6th gear we still have more boost, and I shift up to 7th, and there's still a little bit of boost left, so I'm able to accelerate up to my top speed quite quickly. And this allows me to get this run on an Emera here, and we're going into quite a tricky position of the track. I think it's sort of this downhill area, and from my perspective I had to turn down my brake pressure quite a lot because of how I was looking at building up hybrid power. I used quite a low brake pressure, which you can do in the Toyota. It doesn't work as well in many of the other cars, but for some reason in the Toyota you can turn down the brake pressure, and it builds up the hybrid power so easily, so you're still able to build up a lot of power even on low braking. And this means I have to brake a lot earlier. So let's see what happens there. I start here and I'm going quite quickly, as you can see, and I'm already redlining on the 7th gear. So where to go? Do I go left or right on this situation? I can see that there is room on the right, and I feel like the room on the left is not enough. So I make my way to the right here, and you can see the massive pace difference is just shining through here. And at this point, I'm getting more or less an overlap into this area, and you can see here on my telemetry that I'm starting to brake as I go into this this sort of little bit of a right-hander before the sharp left turn. And this is because the car was a little bit unstable on the rainy conditions. I was hitting the curb here trying to pass, so I was not quite convinced or comfortable with the stability of the car at this point. So I broke a little bit. You can see some hybrid power was actually built up because of that. And at this point, I just heard from crew chief. He said clear left. So I feel like I have sufficient room. But at this point, I'm also very desperately in need of starting to brake because of my long brake zones. And I'm pretty sure Animero had a lot more brake pressure, so he can start braking a lot later than I can. And what crew chief says here, sort of, I sort of forget the racing because I rely too much on crew chief. And you can see here that I'm coming down here. He says clear left, and then he says car left, clear left, right after each other. And now I'm full on braking, going into this area, and the mirror is on my left side. I believe that a little bit taking a little bit less care because it says clear left, but I should be aware that my braking zones are a lot earlier and a lot longer, so in theory he should be able to get on my left again. But then my crew chief, instead of keeping me updated with the spotter, starts talking about my brake temperature. So you can hear now that if I play this, I don't know if you can hear it, it's a little bit low, but let's just see.
Your left, your rear brakes are hot, your front brake.
Yeah, he starts saying your rear brakes are hot, your front brakes are hot, right after he said clear left. So at this point I'm more or less like, okay, there's no danger in doing my normal turn, and a little bit oblivious to the fact that Animera is, of course, trying to make up his position back again into the braking zone, which is a valid move. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a dive, but you know, it's a valid move. I think the lines have been established a little bit earlier. I think the lines have been established at at this point. The lines have been established, and this is when my crew chiefs start talking about my brake temperatures. But I should be a lot more careful here and show more respect into this corner and not be too eager. I'm basically too eager of making this pass.
Rear brakes are hot, your front brakes are getting a bit hot.
And the contact is made there, so I go a little bit wide. But you can see if we had paid more attention, we could have avoided the contact there by being a little bit more careful and more not so eager of making the pass early. And you can see here is another example. This is a little bit earlier, about 7 minutes earlier in the race. So wrong. It's a wrong chronological order, I guess, but whatever. It's still the same conditions, basically. It's a little bit lighter out, and we have ice in front of us, and we're going to the same area. I'm building up a lot of hybrid power, spending it, and building up a lot of speed. And as I come into the braking zone, I start braking now, but then I end up with the same thing, that my braking zones are so long and it takes so long to stop the car that I sort of have to now think about avoiding going into ice. And it's not a very easy situation because of how sharp this corner is and how much downhill this actually is. And if I'm going to the left side, I run the risk of running ice out of the road as we both make the turn because of myself not being able to stop, or I lock the wheels up trying to brake too hard and turn to the left at the same time. So it's not a very safe maneuver going to the inside here. It's basically a lot safer to just try and stick to the outside, or try and brake as hard as possible and not run into ice. But what happens there is I basically go too quickly, and I end up having to go on the outside there, and it is the right thing to do. I mean, it's according to the rules, of course. You should try at your very best at all costs to avoid contact, of course, with other players. And if you can drive off the road to avoid contact, then that's of course what you should do. And it costs me a little bit of time, but it's down to my own mistakes really, because I should have started braking a lot earlier, knowing how close I was to ice here in this braking zone. So you can see I speed, or I go out here, and then I make my way back into the road. So a little bit of a few clips to take a look at before the season 5 starts, and I hope to see you racing again quite soon. And yeah, I'll see you later. Goodbye.